What I've got in my hand is a fistful of cold charcoal out of my own fire ring. Dead ash and black chunks, still damp from last night's dew. It costs nothing. It weighs nothing. And that black dust was half of the best camouflage system this continent ever had. A man can spend $300 on a jacket printed with photographs of oak leaves, and a whitetail will pick him off a hillside at 100 yards and be gone. And a fellow in a plain, dull shirt with a little of this on his face and hands can sit against a stump and have deer feed past him close enough to hear them chewing. Same woods, same deer. I'll give you why in about 6 pieces, and every one of them is free. But the piece that matters most isn't the one anybody sells. The last thing I'll teach you today is not clothing. It isn't paint on your face, and it isn't scent. It's something your own body does every time you take a step. And every wild animal out here was built to catch it. You can do everything else in this video perfectly, and that one thing will still empty the hillside ahead of you. Stay with me to the end, and I'll tell you what it is and how to break it. My name is Tommy Whitehorse. I'm 66 years old, and I camped the same hills my grandfather camped, in about the same way he did. Most of what I have came from him and from the old ones I sat beside at 100 fires, and not one of them ever wrote a word of it down. That's the whole reason I'm sitting in front of a camera at my age. These things aren't secrets. They're just forgotten. Most of what I do with this now is watch. If you hunt, this puts you closer than any coat you can buy. Carry a camera instead of a rifle, and it's the same job. And if you only want to walk into a piece of woods without emptying it out ahead of you, this is how. It's learning to quit announcing yourself to everything with 4 legs. So walk into any outfitter and find the camouflage wall. But understand what you're being handed. A picture of some woods, taken somewhere else, printed on a bolt of fabric by somebody looking at a screen. The old ones came at it from the other end. They watched until they understood what an animal's eye actually catches, and then quit handing it anything to catch. A deer's eyes aren't set in the front of its head like yours. They're on the sides, and that gives it near 300 degrees of view. There is no sneaking around behind a whitetail's vision, because there's barely a behind. But it pays for that width with detail. That eye is built to catch two things fast: edges and movement. Which is why a deer can look straight at a man standing dead still at 10 steps and go back to feeding, then catch a hand lifted slow at 100 yards and be gone. Keep this in your head, because the rest of today is nothing but this. The animal isn't looking for you. It's catching 3 things: your outline, your shine, your movement. Every old trick I hand you attacks one of those 3. And here's a caveat I want in early. All of this is built around a whitetail's eye and a turkey's eye. If you're in big bear country or up where the moose are, throw the whole thing out. Being unseen close to a large animal is the opposite of what you want. Make noise. Be seen. This is a whitetail and turkey skill, not a big country one. And I'd rather say that plain than have somebody get hurt being clever. Outline first, because it's what the eye grabs before anything. Nothing in these woods is shaped like a man. A man is a straight vertical post with 2 square corners at the top and a round ball sitting on it, and nothing else out here is built that way. Those shoulders and that head are what an animal locks onto, and you can wear the finest cloth ever printed and still be a perfect man shape standing where man shapes don't belong. 4 things. Never let sky get behind you, because a man on a ridgeline is a paper cutout everything below him can read a half mile off. Keep something big at your back, a wide trunk or a blowdown, not to hide behind, but so your edges melt into its edges. And quit being a line. Break up the shoulders and the head with leafy branches, bark strips, long grass in your collar and around your hat. It only has to eat the two corners and the ball. And get low. A man standing is a man. A man sitting flat beside a stump is part of the stump. Now shine. Face and hands are the brightest things you carry into the woods. And a face turned up out of the shadow is a pale round moon in a place with no pale round things in it. That's the whole reason for the charcoal. But the pattern matters more than the black does. And here's where everybody gets it backwards. Don't smear your whole face into one solid, dark oval. You've traded a pale oval for a dark one, and an oval still reads as a face. What the old ones did was reverse the shadows. Find what sticks out and catches sun. Forehead, nose, cheekbones, the point of the chin. Those go dark. The hollows, under the eyes, under the jaw, the sides of the nose, those stay light. You're painting the light backwards, and it flattens a face into nothing. Then 2 or 3 ragged slanted stripes across the eyes and the mouth, running crooked, never along the lines your face already has. Straight stripes make new edges. Crooked ones tear the shape apart. Charcoal off a cold fire does it, and ground with a little grease it spreads easier, and holds through a light rain. Charcoal and creek mud is the old standby. Do the backs of your hands too. Now the honest word. Charcoal on skin is fine, but it isn't paint made for faces. Keep it out of your eyes and off any cut or broken skin, and wash it off when you come out. It's soot, and that's all it ever was. Which brings us to clothing, and the 2 reasons store camouflage lets people down. First is distance. Those crisp printed leaves are flat ink on flat cloth. At 40 yards, it stops being leaves at all. Every little shape blurs into its neighbor. The whole thing goes to one solid gray-brown mass, and a solid mass is an outline again. Second is laundry. Most every common detergent carries optical brighteners, and their whole job is to make cloth throw back extra blue light so your shirts look bright to you. And a deer's eye happens to see blue better than nearly any other color. So a $400 suit run through the wash one time can glow to a deer like a porch light. The old way sidestepped both without needing to know about either. Smoke-tan buckskin came out a dull winter gray-brown on its own. No shine and no pattern to smear. And real vegetation tucked into a belt and a collar has depth. It moves the way its neighbors move, because it is its neighbors. And it's the right color because it came off that hillside that morning. The rule is simple. Dull, quiet earth colors. Wool or brushed cotton, something that eats light instead of bouncing it. Nothing slick. Nothing washed in brighteners. And finish dressing where you're going to sit, not where you parked the truck. And here's the caveat that outranks all of it. If you're hunting, blaze orange requirements exist in most states during firearms season, and the law comes before every word I've said today. Wear it, and wear the amount they tell you to. And it squares with everything else, because you need to be visible to people and invisible to deer. And those aren't the same job. Remember what we said about blue. A whitetail sees blue strongly and sees the orange end of things poorly. So that vest screaming at another hunter from 400 yards reads to a deer as a dull gray patch. What'll get you busted isn't the color, it's the shape and the shine. So break it up, let it hang loose and wrinkle, and manage your outline and your movement, like always. Be seen by men, stay dull to deer. Here's the hard truth underneath all of it. A whitetail believes its nose over its eyes every single time. That deer can look right at something strange, decide it's nothing, take one breath of you, and be 4 ridges away. If your wind is wrong, none of the rest matters. Keep the wind in your face or coming across your cheek, and check it constantly, not once when you leave the truck. Let a pinch of dry dust go from your fingers and watch it fall. And when that wind swings behind you, and it will, that direction is finished for the day. Circle wide and come in from the other side. The old ones had one more thing, and I still do it. Stand in your wood smoke before you go out and let it get into your shirt and your hair and your hat. Every animal in this country has known wood smoke since the first lightning fire. It is not a smell that says man, sound next. A man walks heel first, hard, the whole weight arriving at once. And that's the loudest way a body can move. The old ones went at it backwards. Outside edge of the foot down first. Gentle. Roll it inward slow and feel what's under that boot before you give it weight. Feel a stick under there and you haven't broken it yet. Lift. Set it somewhere else. Then shadow, which is free camouflage, the sun sets up all day long. Shade does 3 jobs at once. It kills whatever shine you have left. It softens your outline, because in shade, your edges and the tree's edges go the same flat gray. And it swallows small movement. A hand raised in shadow is nearly nothing. That same hand raised in a patch of sun is a flash you can see across a field. So keep the sun behind you or off your shoulder and sit on the dark side of the trunk. And don't pick a spot for the view. Pick it for where the shade will be an hour from now. Now here's the piece almost nobody has the patience for. And it's the one that turns everything else on. When a man walks into a piece of woods, the woods shut down, the squirrels quit, the jays hush, and everything with legs stands still to see what you'll do. If you settle in and stop moving, they start back up in about 15 or 20 minutes. And here's what matters. Do not trust the first 10. Most people wait 5 minutes, decide nothing's happening, get up and move. And every time they do it, they reset the clock on the whole hillside. You'll know when you're back in, because the birds tell you. When there are little birds working the branches over your head again, going about their business like you're a rock, you've been accepted. And it isn't only for you. Every deer inside earshot is listening to that bird song. And to a deer, that sound is the all clear. The birds vouch for you, which is the honest heart of this. There's an industry ready to sell you a pattern, and every year it's a better one than last year's. The old ones sold nothing to anybody. What they had to teach was patience, and patience is the one thing on this earth that has never gone up in price. Let me pay off what I promised you. I was maybe 24 and 3 mornings running. I got busted by the same doe. Same doe, notch out of her left ear. Every morning I came back and fixed something. Better coat, blacked my face, sat lower. 3rd morning, she picked me off before I ever laid eyes on her. And I came into camp sour and told an old fellow named Arliss the whole story. He let me finish. Then he said, "It's not your coat, son. She never saw your coat. She heard your feet." And I said I was walking quiet. I hardly made a sound. And he said, "I know it. That's the problem. You were quiet the same amount the whole way in. Here's what he meant, and it took me another year to understand it. A healthy man walking has the most regular gait in the entire forest. Every stride the same length, every footfall the same weight. On one steady beat, like a clock ticking through the dry leaves. Nothing else out here moves that way. A squirrel scratches at the leaves, then stops. A feeding deer takes 2 steps, drops its head, takes 1 more, then freezes and listens. A turkey scratches 3 times and stands stone still. Every wild thing out here moves in broken, ragged time, and there's a reason for it. Every wild thing pauses to listen between its own footsteps, because a thing that never stops to listen doesn't get old. Only one animal in these woods walks in a long, even, unbroken rhythm. And every deer that has lived long enough to grow a set of antlers has that beat burned into it as the sound of danger. That deer does not need to see you. Not your shape, not your shine, not your face. It hears a steady 1-2, 1-2 coming through the leaves, and it's already moving, and you'll never know it was there. So break your beat. That's the fix, and it costs nothing. 3 or 4 soft steps, then stop, and stand there at least twice as long as you were moving. Longer if you can stand it, and most people cannot stand it, which is exactly why it works. And never use the same count twice. 2 steps, stop. 5 steps, stop. 1 step and a long wait. Better than that, move when the woods move. Wait until the wind comes up and lays over the whole hillside, when every leaf and limb is swaying at once. And take your steps then. When the wind lays down, you lay down with it. Freeze. You've hidden your movement inside everybody else's, and there is no pattern printed on any bolt of cloth that can do that for you. So there it is. Break your outline, kill your shine, dress from the same land you're standing on. Keep that wind in your face. Sit down in the shadow. Let the birds forgive you. And break your rhythm. Now do something for me down in the comments. Tell me about the quietest person you ever hunted with, or ever walked the woods beside, and what they did differently. It's never the gear. And tell me who taught you to sit still, because somebody did. And I'd bet they never explained themselves while they were doing it. I read every one of them. Next time, I'll show you how the old ones found water in dry country with no creek anywhere in sight. Not by wandering and hoping, but by reading the land itself. The kind of trees standing in one place and not another. What the birds are doing an hour before dark. And the shape of a draw, which will tell you where the water is when there's not a drop of it showing. Thank you for sitting with me. Walk easy, and I'll see you down the trail.